My name is Meyer, and this is my professional disposition video. So, I'm currently a special education teacher. I work with students with primarily intellectual disabilities in kindergarten through fifth grade. And so this year, I was a resource teacher last year and took on this role this year. And when I started having my first couple IEP meetings, I really sat back and thought about what is my role as a special education teacher. Because I think as teachers, we can often get possessive of students, like, this is my student, not your student. And in special education, that's not true, because my students have their gen ed teacher where they spend the majority of their day. Then they just come see me for services. They also have their related service providers that they see often, the paraprofessionals that spend a lot of the day with them. They have their parents who are their everything at home. And in reality, I'm just a little piece of their education. And I think it's important as special education teachers to remember that without everyone else and myself, we would not be providing a adequate education for this child. And so looking at that, like, it's my job as their case manager to make sure we are upholding, the professionalism and the ethical standards when we're writing the IEP and working with the families and maintaining all of that, the legal stuff and the paperwork side of it. That's my job as their case manager. But as far as my role as in the child's education, I'm just a tiny part. And so I think that's kind of cool when you really can accept that and sit back and be so thankful for the wonderful people that work with this child and really work as a team, rather than, oh, I'm their case manager, I'm in charge. But we work as a team with the family to provide what is best for this child. And doing that and focusing on that teamwork and that collaboration has been so life-changing and amazing to watch these parents really open up and take charge and in these meetings and be part of the team. So I think ultimately, while I am just part of the team, I am the case manager. And it is my job to uphold that professionalism and those professional expectations when we're having those meetings and we're working with the child and with the family and when providing the education for the child. It's my job to make sure all those things are being met and upheld, which is very important. And I think, it's a lot of responsibility, but it's really essential for these kids to make sure that is being done. So when looking at the dispositions in that self-assessment or that self-survey, I think the one I really related to was that educators should be committed to the profession of teaching and learning. So I always tell people when they ask, oh, why did you become a teacher? I'm always like, I love to learn. I love learning. I love school. And I think I love being able to share that with students, and especially students with special needs, where school's not always easy for them. It's not always fun for them. They have to work a lot harder than their typical peer. But showing them how fun it can be and how rewarding it can be and how cool it is to learn new things. And it's not just work that someone's making you do. There's a reason we're having you do all these things, is really awesome. And so when you can get excited about their learning, and I'm excited about my teaching, it helps the students be excited about their learning. And then you see more growth in the students than you would if you didn't have that commitment to the profession and that passion with the profession. One area I think I could grow in is the disposition that says educators should recognize that reflection combined with experience leads to growth as a professional. So I think a lot of times as a special education teacher, and especially right now post-COVID, my days are crazy. At the end of the day, I'm like, that was a lot. And I try not, and I'm done. I don't think about it anymore. And I think I could really work on that reflection aspect of this disposition, where I can look back and say, okay, these are some things I did that went really well and they worked awesome, and let's try those again. And these are some areas that didn't work so great and they could use some improvement, and maybe next time I'll try this, or let me go talk with a coworker and say, hey, I tried this today when I was teaching and it didn't work. Do you have any advice? Have you done something similar? And really reflecting on what went well and areas that I could improve on to help me grow as an educator. Because, of course, ultimately that is my goal, is to continue to advance and grow in my profession as a special education teacher. And I think reflection is a huge part of that. And I often forget that because I'm tired and I'm done and my day was crazy and I don't even know what happened. And so I think finding little ways to maybe take notes throughout the day or just jot down ideas on the side of my notebook to look back at later and be like, oh, yeah, that worked really well. Or let's not do that again. It'd be really awesome. And then finally, looking at personal biases and how they can affect expectations that teachers have for their students. And ultimately, I think that as an educator, you cannot have personal biases when it comes to students. You can't favor a student because of a personal bias or not favor a student because of a personal bias. You have to treat everyone equally. And when I was reading through the dispositions after reading the assignment, I saw the one that said educators should exercise sound judgment and ethical behaviors. And if you have personal biases and you're letting those into your classroom, you cannot make sound judgments and you cannot show ethical behaviors because you are judging a student based on a personal judgment you have inside of you. And that's never okay. It's not ethical to treat people differently because of something you have. You have to treat every child the same. And I think those personal biases could really negatively impact relationships with students and relationships with families, which at the end of the day, that is the most important part of our job, is building those relationships, supporting our students and their families so we can provide the best education and help create the most successful little people that we want to create. And if we are letting our own personal feelings and opinions get in the way of that, then we're not being ethical and we're not exercising sound judgment. So it's really, and it can be hard because we're humans and we have those feelings and we have personal biases inside of us. Everyone does. But you have to really be cognizant about not letting those inside your classroom, no matter what, and really practicing that ethical behavior. So thank you so much for your time. This was wonderful, and talk to you next time. Bye.